Pleasant afternoon to everyone. So today this session is a very interesting one. That is, we are going to see what do you mean by the Montessori education. So this session will be a very interesting one. You can know many new things that we are going to enter into the world of Montessori. That we are going to learn what are the different ways in which a child can learn everything in this world in a simpler way and an hands-on practice way. So this session we are going to see the vast information you're going to get about our Montessori philosophy. Okay, so we shall start with the introduction. So this session will be your introduction to Montessori, and in the coming up sessions, we will be having the activities in Montessori. Okay, so Montessori was first introduced by Maria Montessori. She was the first woman in Italy to qualify as a physician. So she developed an interest in the diseases of children and in the needs of those said to be uneducable. So Maria Montessori, developed a teaching program that enabled defective children to read and write. So what she have done is she sought out to teach skills not by having children repeatedly try it, by developing exercises that prepare them. So Montessori is nothing but a simpler way to tell is looking becomes reading and the touching becomes writing. So by her way, looking becomes reading and touching becomes writing. So this denotes the hands-on practice of a child in which they can learn anything in an easier way. Okay, so Maria Montessori in the year 1870 to 1952. So she was the first woman in Italy to qualify as a physician. So Dr. Maria Montessori, from that only we have named this education as a Montessori education. So in 1907, Dr. Maria Montessori applied her methods to normal children, age that is the age between 3 to 6 at children's house in Rome. Okay, so at the age of 3 to 6, 3 to 6, the children whose parents were illiterate learned to read and write and do somewhat simple addition, subtraction, and all everything. So, in contrast to traditional methods which we have learned before, this use a formal process of rewards and punishments. Montessori's method use a spontaneous learning process and stresses the development of individual initiative and self-reliance by allowing children to move freely and pursue what interests them with a clearly defined framework of acceptable behavior. So what is the Montessori teachers act as a guides, so they will be acting as a guide for children and also the supervisors rather than as directors of a certain set of curriculum. So by following a certain set of curriculum, the Montessori teachers acts as a guide for the children. So they give a child individual instruction and introduce new material as required. So the one thing is the children are free to use the kit. It is their own choice of selecting the kit and they can do whatever strikes in their mind. So when movements are involved, the teacher models them first so as the child can learn good habits. So in this Montessori system, it also stresses sensory perception and developing motor coordination through the use of activities, games, and simple but stimulating objects that capture children's interest. So children's interest is very much important and also it make them to explore further. So children learn what they live, right? So a children learns something that is happening daily. So if a child lives in a criticism place, what he learns to condemn. Okay, so if a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. So the surrounding of the child demonstrates what he is now. So, if a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. So, if he is living with shame, he learns to feel guilty. So what he is thinking and what he is going to do it further depends upon the place where they live. So if a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. So if a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. So if a child lives with price, he learns to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. So the learning of the children depends upon the place where they live, what is their capturing and what is they are listening to others. They repeat what we are doing, right? So if a child lives with approval, he learns to himself. So a child who is with acceptance and faith, he learns to find a love in the world. So a kind kid has to know to accept and faith in which he loves the world. Next, the Montessori method, as I told you, Dr. Maria Montessori, she was an Italian pediatrician and an educator. So she demonstrated this method, that is a famous scientific system of education. So between the age of 2 to 7, based on free principle. So in this, only you see now traditional method. So if he take a standard one, only those standard one at the age of 5 group people, 5 age group people will be in that standard and they'll be learning something in a set of curriculum. But in system of Montessori, all age group are mingled together so as they can select their own way of learning. So it is based on free principle and free choice by children for stimulating their apparatus provided to them. So they are free to use, so everything will be kept in a certain place, those are they are able to select what the apparatus they need and they can start doing what they know to do with that. So Maria Montessori system was applied in 50 schools for slum children called the Casa dei Bambini or homes for children. Okay, so from 1919 onwards, she traveled around the world every other year conducting courses in teaching what is Montessori method. So she traveled around the world and she conducted courses on Montessori method. So she also changed the system by stressing freedom of expression, self-education, and a sensorial education. So Montessori method of a child education is favored most widely and well known in the world, and the work continues. So, her scientific work was the result of her long observation and study of the child. What she thought is she is made to come into the method of Montessori in which she is able to apply it to for all the kids in the world. So she saw in the child a hidden man and also realized the importance of molding the future. So at the age of 3 plus, we can able to mold the future of the head in which we can see a child of a hidden man. Next, according to her, education begins at birth. So also the child is born blank into this world. He possesses many potentialities. So Montessori method is nothing but the one which you are going to give a lot to a kid who has born blank to this world, right? So next we'll go to the Montessori teacher, right? So what is a part of the Montessori teacher is nothing but, so what are the aims? We are going to see what are the aims and objectives of the Montessori teacher. What is their role to the kids? Everything we are going to see, right? So the aims and objectives of being a Montessori teacher. So Montessori teacher, she is a part of the environment. So her behavior is the main and the first example for the child. So what she does or he does, the children imitate their actions. So she or he should be careful in all her actions. So the children keen have a keen watch to her, so close and imitate or repeat what are the actions the teacher is doing. So she or he must build a good relationship motherly, right? So a bonding after family, the kid has to gel with the teacher and he has to be having a good relationship in the place where the kid and the teacher is placed, right? So they have to build a good relationship, like a motherly relationship. Each child must feel that he or she is the one loved by the teacher. So the discipline at the same time avoiding punishments and rewards. She should be clear in her presentations. So knowing the age of the kid, the interest according to their needs also. So make the child creative and build images that will help the child towards abstraction. So in other words, form pictures that will help the child to grasp something which is new. So take the child across to the unknown world from the known. So what we are going to do is we are going to give a lot of things to a blank world where the child has born. We are going to mold them and we are going to make them known from the unknown. So a teacher should have a certain types of aims and objectives. So whatever he or she teaches, that is your presentation or demonstration, individual, group, collective. So we'll go with a presentation or demonstration. So when a child needs to be guided in how to go about his activities, he should be shown how to do certain activities. So first, when you're learning something, if a kid wants to know something, what you have to do, you have to show them a practical activity to how to use that product, how to handle it, and also the handling material. So what are the cases you have to do and everything. So they can be taught individually, in a group, or a collectively, depending on the activity. So whenever they are doing an activity, you can make the kids to do it in a group or individual, and then you have to teach how to handle a product and also how to use the kit. At times, children learn by observing another do the activity. So, for like us, child will also repeat what the others are doing the activity. So, the teacher should note what each child needs and accordingly plan the work for the children. So, keeping them all time be busy. So, what we have to do is we have to have a keen watch of what a child needs and what he's longing for. So according to that, we as a teacher has to plan the work for them and keep all time busy. Next is go for individual. So if giving for individual activities, so it will gain self experience. So for gaining self experience, what we have to do is we have to let the kid to learn what he is learning by his own. So these are all presentations or given to individuals for gaining self experience. So what he or she has to do is work alone to his master the knowledge. So he or she has to work alone and he has to get self experience. So for example, if we give a coloring concept, he has to choose his favorite colors. So he have to think what color the picture will be and he has to select the appropriate color and color it. So that is the way of self experience. So if I'm intimating the kid to take green color, color it for leaf, take brown color, color it for bark of the tree, it is not fair. So we have to give the choice to the kid and make them to have a self experience, that is the individuality of a kid. So it gives and masters their knowledge, that shows their individuality. Next, in set of group, so it can be a group of 8 to 10 children. We can have a group of 8 to or 15 children. Okay, so all are of the same level, so they'll be in the same level. So a special group lesson will be when a group of children have the same difficulties, and the sort of coloring concept and etc. So another set is a group of 8 to 15 children, all same level. The special group of children have the same difficulty. Difference between B and D, the same things. Okay, so a group of children who has the same difficulty can be rectified when they are in a group. Then in case of collective methods, a big group, that is you can take it as two classes together, is a singing, walking on a line, walking on a crossed way, everything. So what is that? Usually a Montessori school will have more than one teacher for a room. Normally what they'll have is more than one teacher. So each child will be treated by each teacher. So they have the choice of selecting their own kid to use. So they can take whatever they want and do. So it should be a spacious room with corners of areas activity. So they can see not only a single activity, they can see a number of activity in a Montessori room. So maximum all the kids will be sitting on the mat and doing the activities. So exercise of all practical life, sensorial, art and craft, max, language, science. So mainly in Montessori, maximum is the coverage of your literacy, your life skills, mathematics, and all. Okay, so life skills plays a major role in Montessori, as what are the regular activities what they do comes under Montessori. What are the simple exercise works they are doing in the home? That is the kneading the dough or sweeping the home, taking the paper, properly arranging the books in the cupboard. Everything comes under Montessori. That is your life skill. All your life skills comes under Montessori. So children visit the rooms for the work they do. So one teacher can be allotted for the subject. So what they'll do is one teacher will be allotted for, you have a separate sections for English, Maths, everything, EVS and all. So you can take anything, whatever you can see in that subject, and you can start doing. You will have a staff for guiding. So the children get, so when if there is a two or more stars, what is the children used to do is they used to more than get used to more than one teacher. So the materials can be shared by the children, and also they are kept busy. So whenever we give a kit to a children, the another one will also be longing for that kit, so they will be having that sharing ability also. So this also enhances and makes the children keep busy by sharing their materials. Then the four areas what I told you is in the Montessori education is nothing but your practical life, sensorial, language and mathematics. So main thing what you learn is you learn the sounds of the alphabets, you know how to read using the help of phonics, everything. So the main four areas of learning is Montessori education. So Montessori is an education pedagogy that mainly focus on the individual child and his need. So what is that? Not to a group of children, it mainly focus on an individual child. So this concept behind the pedagogy was consolidated by our Dr. Maria Montessori in the beginning of 20th century. So her concept in regards to teacher children teach based on their needs, personal interests, lead to the Montessori educational method of today. So what I told you is that four areas of learning is practical learning, sensorial, language, and mathematics. So this is the four areas of learning of Montessori. There's a practical life, sensorial, mathematics, and language. So first I'll go with practical life. Practical life is nothing but in this, what you have is the regular thing what you're doing in your day-to-day life. So that is your practical life. So in this, a child finds material and exercises which he does in an everyday life, from pouring water from a jar to a glass, or what I told you is dusting the table or cleaning the table, the way how he cleans the table, the way how he dusts the table, and then how to tie the shoelace, buttoning activity. So all these are the activities which he used to do in his regular day basis, right? So these activities can be learned in this practical life session. So these activities also help the children to properly take care of himself, so that he may feel as though he is independent, so he does not depend on any other to do his own needs and works, right? So if he knows to do at this age itself, he feels very independent, and he also feels very proud that he has to come all the basic needs to do by himself, and also it does not have to rely on an individual of basic needs. So practical life session is very much important, and it also plays a very much major role in Montessori education. So next we'll go with sensorial. So activities in this allow the child to refine each of his senses. For example, the weight of the barrack tables and also the smelling jars, sound ball. So these are the certain activities in which they refine each of their senses. So he or she will become a child who can appreciate the color, so sorting of colors, sorting of textures, so touching and feeling the texture of an object. So this all things will organize his thoughts and objects in his environment. So it has been defined as sense of pitch from the music he may hear around him. So these all comes, and so there are many sensorial games which help the kids to enhance and refine their senses, that's touch and feel and all. So when a kid is allowed to do by his own, so he learn many things, so he answers the questions what rises for him, right? Next is your language. So I have completed practical life, sensory life, then I'm going with language. So language is nothing but it is a taught one which specific progression of lessons where the first becomes aware of the different sounds in a word. As I told you, the phonics in which each and every letter has a separate sound. So they learn with actions so as they can apply it in a reading. So the child then learns the language phonetically until the point where he is taught the different rules in a given language, and also the expectations to those rules he will need to know in order to spell and read fluently. So while reading fluently, a kid has to know what are the sounds of the alphabets, what are the rules, so where we can apply the rules, so how we can write those rules, everything he'll be learning in the language session. So next we'll go to mathematics. So mathematics, normally we know we learn numbers, right? So what are the different ways we are going to learn, what are the different keys we are going to learn, so everything comes under this mathematics session. So that everything comes under mathematics session. So if a child first learns how to count numbers from 1 to 10, and also through understanding the concepts which specifically know the amount of how we can learn everything, so counting, basic counting with the beats and also everything. Okay, so through each and every method the child will learn addition, so all the other categories and max, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and truly understand what each one means to the deeper sense. So to this method of teaching, Montessori offers a child a strong and solid foundation in the understanding of max. So a child understands maths with a strong and solid foundation. So everything will be on your hands-on practice, so in which they can grasp it very easily and then they can apply it. So overall what makes this method of learning is that it is so different compared to the or conventional and also the traditional method of education so we have today, so that the teacher does not stand in front of the class and teach each child the same lesson all at once, taking the notes, listening to the board, writing what is there and copying it. So not like that. So each child is allowed to learn by their own rhythm. So in that way what they feels is that he's a fact not learning or being taught, so they learn what they come to know, right? So we are giving to them an unknown one, for them it is unknown, which makes them to known, right? So Montessori called this way of teaching is also known as the preparing the child for success. So nothing but preparing the child for success. The teacher is there to guide the child through small exercises in which the child can succeed. So through time the exercise rise in difficulty, but because the progression is so well throughout, the child never feel as though learning is a struggle. So once a child is molded up, she knows the reason of why it has been like this and why we are doing certain materials and the usage of a material and all. So these are the outline look of Montessori. So what are the things we'll be covering in Montessori, who have introduced Montessori, why we are introducing it to children. So everything I have given you an intro in this. So by next session we'll be seeing a practical activity of doing a simple activity with a proper procedure. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I'll be meeting you in the next session.